Hey, noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and there is a creator that I used to watch by the name of Amala Ekpunobi, and she is a conservative commentator. And I remember that I think I must have reacted to one of her videos quite a few years ago, and I thought that whatever she was presenting was actually pretty based and cool. But I haven't watched it. I haven't watched her content in a very long time because I think I got like busy with other things and other projects. However, she recently posted a video that I saw on the homepage, and so I decided let's have a look at this. Also because it features Charlie Kirk's yours and only face on the thumbnail, so I'm interested. The title is John Fetterman Shuts Down Katie Couric. This was insane, so let's have a look.
I think some people might say Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme.
No, it wasn't that extreme, and Charlie Kirk most definitely didn't deserve to die, although Katie Kirk makes it seem like he did in this insane clip where she presses John Fetterman to sort of get him to disavow Charlie Kirk. Well, it doesn't work, so let's watch.
Let's watch. Let's watch.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. You remember Katie Couric, right? She used to be like this golden journalist. She was on the Today Show. Everybody loves Katie Couric. You can wake up with Katie Couric. Well, Katie Couric has changed, or she was always this and I just didn't see it. I'm going to show you this clip of her interviewing John Fetterman. And they get into the topic of Charlie Kirk. And Katie Couric
U.S. Senator
wants to make it clear that too much was done for Charlie Kirk. This big funeral flying on Air Force Two, you know, we should talk about Charlie Kirk's rhetoric and how dangerous and extreme it was. But John Fetterman doesn't bite, and I'll give him his flowers for that. But let's watch.
Do you think that flag should have been flown at half staff? Do you think his body should have been flown on Air Force Two? Do you think he should have posthumously be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Yes.
I think some people felt that that was perhaps over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk.
No, it wasn't.
I don't know, Katie. Was he one of the
mourning someone like Charlie Kirk?
I don't know, Katie. Was he one of the largest political influencers of our time? And was he a massive cultural force in this last election? I think so. Anyways, I think Donald Trump can decide what he wants to do regarding Charlie Kirk after one of the biggest assassinations in history. Mind you, we all live—
Exactly. Thank you, Amala. Thank you. The huge impact of this political assassination and the subsequent hundreds of thousands of celebrations required this level of standing up for the truth and for justice.
Through what happened with George Floyd and the police brutality narratives and the Black Lives Matter
she didn't have a problem with that.
Riots, where over $2 billion of damage was done here in the United States. There was this huge, massive funeral with politicians bowing all over the place. Yet one of our biggest political influences gets assassinated, and you think it's too much to respond in this
As usual, two standards, double standards.
way. Okay.
His choice and his prerogative, and that's where and that was really entirely up to him.
Did you have any issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the rhetoric he used during his life?
There's such an interesting dynamic right now with interviewers and leading questions. And we saw this really famously now, or infamously, in the Sydney Sweeney interview, where the interviewer asked her to comment on the white supremacy angle of her American Eagle jeans ad. Katie Couric, why not just ask John Fetterman how he feels about Charlie Kirk? Why do you have to lead by saying Charlie Kirk had extreme rhetoric, or a lot of people are commenting on his rhetoric, and then sort of spoon feed him an answer?
Because she's a manipulator, clearly, and she has a propagandistic message to push. Also, here would be my comeback to this lady. My comeback would be, since you like talking about extreme rhetoric and its dangers, why aren't you talking about the rhetoric, the far radical left-wing rhetoric that got him killed, instead of the rhetoric of the victim? Unbelievable. Scumbag. They're trying to make us think that the problem is the victim. It's the victim, it's his rhetoric. Not the rhetoric that they called him a fascist, not the rhetoric that said bullet to the fascist written on the freaking magazines. No, that one, not a problem. Not the same rhetoric that tried to assassinate Trump. That's fine. Yeah, of course, yeah, because fascist. It's the same rhetoric. It's just that unfortunately, with Charlie, they did not miss. But that's not now. We need to discuss the rhetoric of the victim, the highest level of victim blaming. Thank you for calling this nonsense out. What are you doing? Why are you not subscribed? Oh, seriously, man, what do I need to do? You've been watching my channel for how long? And every time you're like, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year. I'll do it next century. Seriously, man, come on, just click the subscribe button. Is it? They could do. Look, listen. I'm gonna do it with you right now. I'm gonna subscribe to my own channel. I can join it though. Oh, seriously, how does that work? How can I join my own channel? Can I pay? Are you joking? YouTube. So I can pay. Click. Holy moly, I can. So I can pay myself, probably because they take a cut, right? So they're fine with that one. Well played. I'm going to do it now. In 3, 2, 1. See? I subscribed to myself and you still haven't subscribed to me. But seriously, subscribe.
Commenting on his rhetoric and then sort of spoon feed him an answer. He's a grown-ass man. Everybody that you interview is capable of answering questions, you know, with their own thoughts and feelings. You don't have to spoon feed them what they should think and feel.
I didn't agree with much of it. I didn't closely follow his specific kinds of views, but I did.
I'm sure you learned about them after his death, though.
Ooh. You see that face? I want to replay that again. And watch her face. I'm no body language expert, but watch what she does. Watch that little, like, the contempt in her smile when she says, I'm sure you've learned about it after his death, though. That little smile.
Kinds of views. But I did.
I'm sure you learned about them after his death, though.
She could feel the attitude in her voice and had to, like, try to put on that little smile at the end, but she does not feel like smiling towards what he's saying right now.
Nicety. You call it nicety. If you don't know that word, here's a new word for you.
Which is perfectly reasonable. I don't really agree with his views, but I'm not, you know, obsessed with Charlie Kirk, you know, this guy who was assassinated and wrongfully so.
No, I haven't done a deep dive on it. You know, I mean, we've all seen that terrible video. Perhaps if you've seen the actual video, I have. And it's like appalling. And that's part of the political violence. And from what I'm saying, it's like, that's unacceptable. And engaging in a debate and views I strongly disagree on, that's part of the American democracy.
Yes.
And for me, it's, that would never justify what's happened.
Yes.
And I just chose not to take the opportunity to argue his views after children lost his father in the most violent public way. I mean, so that's, I would say the equivalent on the left might be, say, Mr. Piker. I strongly disagree with his views, but I'm appalled if something like that happened to him. Oh my God.
Based.
I mean, that's, you know, like we have to.
Based. She, however, does not seem appalled at all, does she? With a little grin. That's the difference between us and you.
We have to disagree in better ways where, you know, you're going to solve it by shooting people. And that's why the kinds of rhetoric, we have to turn the temperature down. Extreme rhetoric makes it easier for extreme reactions or to justify them.
I think some people might say Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme.
It just doesn't stop. We get a beautiful, eloquent answer from John Fetterman, which, by the way, we're repping John Fetterman right now. I'm even in a sweatshirt and everything. I didn't even know I had John Fetterman energy for this video. But yes, he's talking about we need to turn down the temperature. And that's what so many have been asking for, you know, before Charlie Kirk's assassination and after. Charlie Kirk himself had made posts about assassination culture and seeing that on the rise and seeing that sort of rhetoric on the rise. And he was calling for the temperature to be turned down, especially on the left. And this is what we need to hear right now. Yet Katie Couric, after hearing all of that, goes back into digging on Charlie, goes back into, let's be honest, a justification of his assassination by saying, well, don't you think his rhetoric was extreme?
Exactly. It's like she's relentless because she's a propaganda brain. Look at the grin. Look at the eyes. You don't need to be a body language expert, Amala, to recognize that this is a brain high on propaganda. She thinks that whatever is justified, and that's disgusting. No. What you say to what he said is, yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right. Yeah, he did not deserve that. And I appreciate that you would be appalled if someone on the left were to be shot. That's what you say. But she doesn't. One, because again, and that's one thing that happens a lot in the radical left, she has to be very careful what she agrees with, because they will devour her alive if she does anything, if she concedes even the smallest point. And then she only has one objective. She's trying to destroy the memory of a good man, simply because he didn't have her political ideas.
You know, I think that's the conversation that happened. People condemned political violence, but they also felt a great deal of discomfort with his language, suggesting that these kinds of words lead to violence. I don't know. I'm just kind of...
Give us an example, Katie. Let us know the extreme rhetoric, because I'm very familiar with the work of Charlie Kirk. I've seen what he's done on campuses. I see the videos that he posts where he's telling people who disagree with him to come straight up to the front to have a respectful conversation with him, where when students are getting unruly, he tells them to calm down. He tells them not to bully. He tells them not to rage out on people who disagree with them, where he's consistently trying to have what may be uncomfortable conversations for people like Katie Couric, who want to label them as extreme, but are normal, reasonable conversations to have with your fellow citizens.
Because she doesn't want the conversation. She wants you to listen, shut up, and obey. Get in line. That's what they want. To people like her, the truth is an obstacle. Dialogue, discourse, particularly with someone who is skilled in the art of conversation and debate, is something that needs to be shut down because it's detrimental to the presentation of their indoctrination. This is what it is. That's why she resents him and his ideas to the point that she will show no decency. She didn't even say anything. She didn't say, yeah, I agree, it was appalling. He didn't deserve to die. It's awful that happened to him, but she didn't even do that. It's full mask off, true colors. She doesn't care. If anything, I'm sure she's glad about it. Can't prove it, but...
sharing my observations as I saw the conversations unfold.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we agree that we probably didn't agree with much of what he said. And I think I'm sure we both agree that you shouldn't shoot people, and you shouldn't execute them in public. And I think that's two things must be true. That free speech, I'm an absolute free speech guy, and
good
you
man.
have the right to say these things, and you definitely also have the right not to get shot by sharing your views.
Shout out to John Fetterman, who just doesn't bite. When time after time, she's just not accepting of the answer that he's given, which when it comes to assassination versus I don't like what he said at the campus, I think we focus on the assassination part. I think when given the two options of the people who are still living, whose rhetoric contributed to the assassination of somebody who's just trying to have conversation, we look at the words of the people who contributed to the assassination.
Yes.
That's where the real extremism lies.
Absolutely.
And not in the words of Charlie Kirk. And it's so interesting that Katie Couric has such strong views that she's trying to veil in, I'm a journalist and I'm just asking questions. This seems to be what I'm hearing on the street. This seems to be what people feel about Charlie Kirk. It's not what I feel about Charlie Kirk. It's just what I'm hearing. It's just the conversation that, other people are having. She's all about it, okay? And she's all about pointing out his extremism. And here's an interesting clip of her talking about going to dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house. And we're going to get into why this is interesting in just a moment.
Katie, Emily S. wants to know the strangest part of going to a dinner party at Jeffrey Epstein's house with Chelsea Handler.
Yeah.
That's
wow. That's a long story.
Look,
in my book. Yeah.
Look at the huge smile on her face. Yeah, I know. Like, she can't even drop the smile on her face to act like she's shocked that she went to dinner at a pedophile's house. So let's do it one more time, since we're really concerned with extremism and extremist rhetoric and extreme actions.
Katie, Emily S. wants to know the strangest part of going to a dinner party at Jeffrey Epstein's house with Chelsea Handler.
Yeah. That's a long story that's in my book. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's a long story. It's in my book. So let's plug the book. After we get asked about a dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house, let's plug my book. If you want to hear more about my night with a pedophile, you can buy my book at katiecouric.com. Let's keep watching.
I was invited to go to this dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house, and George Stephanopoulos was going to be there. And it was right before Kate and William got married. And I thought, oh, I better go because it was in honor of Prince Andrew. And I
must go. I must go to Jeffrey Epstein's house to honor another pedophile, to honor the second pedophile. Mind you, she may not have known about Prince Andrew at this point. Prince Andrew is no longer Prince Andrew. He's actually been stripped of his titles due to the whole endangering of minors thing, the whole sexual activity with minors thing. Allegedly. Okay. Allegedly. The guy doesn't sweat, so I guess we can't get him there, but allegedly.
Thought I better schmooze Prince Andrew. If George is, I need to get in there.
I better schmooze Prince Andrew. If George is, I better get in there. So this is what American journalism looks like. This is what journalistic integrity looks like. I need to go to a dinner party at Jeffrey Epstein's house because George Stephanopoulos is there, because Prince Andrew is going to be there. And also the prince and the princess are soon to be married. And if George is going to schmooze with Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, I better do that too. All right, Katie Couric.
And I didn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein at the time. and it was super weird. What can I say? And the person I was with,
the weirdness was really communicated with that huge grin that you had on your face. And of course, you went to honor Prince Andrew. But of course, and she said she didn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein at the time. Let's look that up, okay? So Jeffrey Epstein was in jail in 2009 for 18 months for what? Let's read it here. The charges of soliciting prostitution with a minor. That was in 2009. Now, Katie Couric says that she was going to Jeffrey Epstein's house around this wedding time. That was in 2011. That's 2 years later, baby. So you didn't know that you were...
GG. Holy mother of Skyrim, Amala. Love to see it. Man, she's cooking.
Going to the house of somebody convicted of soliciting prostitution with a minor. I guess you didn't do your journalistic research. All right.
Did you notice how young the girls were who were taking the coats? And I said, I really didn't. But of course, later we found out everything about him.
Let's watch that again.
The person I was with said, did you notice how young the girls were who were taking the coats? And I said, I really didn't. But of course, later we found out everything about him. But yeah, I was invited to it, and I should have done a little more research. But a lot of the stuff about him hadn't come out yet.
Oh, a lot of the stuff about him hadn't come out yet. 2 years after his prison sentence that he served. And whilst you were there, you state the person you went with remarked on how young the girls were who were taking your coats. Literally, you know, being servants to you. And no, I didn't notice. No, I didn't notice how young the little girls were who were running around Jeffrey Epstein's place. Be so for real, Katie Couric. Now, this is the person who gets to lecture people about extremism and about whether or not Charlie Kirk, a man who spent his life worshiping God and trying to have conversations with college students. Now, she gets to dictate whether or not he was an extremist. Mind you, she'll be spending, I guess, the weekend at Jeffrey Epstein's house having dinner with George Stephanopoulos and Prince Andrew. Bunch of stand-up guys. Give me a break. I mean, there's nothing else I can say here. It speaks for itself. I just had to show you the insane clip.
Thank you.
And then reinforce it with a little bit of who the f are you, Katie Couric, to be talking about Charlie Kirk to John Fetterman. And shout out again to John Fetterman for standing his ground and going, you know what? I think if we're going to have a conversation about extremism, it should apply most directly to the assassination that all of America and really like all the West watched take place. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I got a little heated in this one, and I think you can understand why. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do get up and do so respectfully. I encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And it's dinner time. I'm gonna go have dinner, not with two pedophiles.
No.
Thanks, guys.
She's awesome. She did not change her vibes one bit. And I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting us know. More nonsense and more justification, lack of decency from the same people that had no trouble with Charlie Kirk being offed unjustly. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.